Welcome to Game Set Matchup, the podcast where we talk everything partnerships, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Hello everyone, I'm Carl Busby, your host of Game Set Matchup, and on today's episode we caught up with Sam Lomax, who is the Global Sales and Growth Manager at Experian. You may just think of Experian as credit files and searches like I did. However, they are offering a lot more services these days, and this is just one area that Sam talks about with her team. We talk about cybersecurity and how important it is today to have some sort of digital protection, whether you're a business or a consumer. It's so important that you have the awareness and are protecting yourself online. I think like most people, including myself, we sort of forget this stuff exists, but it's very real. And Experian are trying to partner with businesses to help protect them and their customers from hackers, identity fraud, and the dark web. On a lighter note, we discussed her top tips on creating partnerships and what she's looking for in these, and also some advice she would give to her younger self starting out in this field. So grab a drink, enjoy the episode, and if you want to get in touch with Experian, why not check out Finder and request a call with them. Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to Game Set Matchup. This is the podcast where we discuss all things partnerships. Maybe you are new to the partnerships world and you're looking for a little bit of advice on how to get started, or maybe you're an experienced pro, who knows, and they're looking just for a bit of inspiration or direction. Whichever one it is, we thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Carl Busby, and today, please welcome our guest, Sam Lomax, who's the Global Sales and Growth Manager at Experian. Hello, and welcome, Sam.
Hi, everyone. As Carl said, my name is Sam Lomax. I have a background in working in data, from ID verification solutions to fraud prevention services. And as Carl's rightly said, and now I'm the Global Sales and Growth Manager for the Experian product Cyber Agent. The solution we offer is actually a B2B2C product. And my role is to ensure the growth of our global clients' consumer bases, as well as supporting them with things like marketing, positioning, and future planning. And to give you a little bit of an idea of the product I work with, Cyber Agent is a solution that proactively identifies compromised personal data found in the dark web. So it's quite interesting.
Yeah.
It's quickly becoming an essential part of ID theft protection. And part of what I'm tasked to do is raising awareness about what this solution can do and why it actually matters. Cyber Agent actually monitors your data 24/7, 365 days a year. So if your data is found on the dark web, you're sent a real-time alert along with advice on what to do next.
Right.
So it's a really important part of fraud prevention, which can be integrated into any type of business and resold either as a standalone product or as part of a value-added service.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, thank you. So I've got it now. There's much more detail there. I was just going to say, obviously giving a bit of understanding in terms about the product. So just a little bit about obviously your background in terms of like coming into obviously this role. Are you? Have you done previous jobs sort of within this field, or is this like has this been this whole cyber security stuff? Is this a completely new thing sort of that you could come into?
So the dark web side is like totally new to me. But interestingly, I don't know if this is right or wrong, I had a bit of a fascination with the dark web and the deep web anyway, because what we see is called the bright web. So when you're Googling or you're using like all of your random search engines, we only see the bright web. And obviously you need lots of different ways in order to get into the deep and the dark web, but there's some horrific things that go on in there. And it's filled with hackers and fraudsters obtaining and selling and trading your data. Before then, I worked at CIFAS. So they're the UK's largest fraud database. Really interesting business. They're a not-for-profit as well. If anybody doesn't know about CIFAS, please go and check them out. They do some amazing work, seriously. And then before then, I was with a company called GBG, and I worked in the ID&V space. So ID verification. So it's all of your, your AML checks, your KYC checks, PEP and sanctions, and document scanning, and all sorts of weird and wonderful things. So
yeah.
That's like my data career sort of led me to this really interesting role, actually. So yeah. No,
that's really interesting. So I'm just going to say, with the I mean, you said it yourself, just hearing the words dark web does normally fill people with a bit of fear. I've seen a few documentaries and other things and pieces. But anyway, we won't go into that obviously fully now. But so it's really interesting. I can imagine that, it's kind of, a big business, because there's still a lot of companies out there that they don't even know that this type of thing actually really sort of exists. And I said, I don't know too much. I know a little bit, but I don't, you said, I don't want to know obviously all the ins and outs. But going back to what you said originally, and that it gives a real-time notification of that to me sounds quite powerful, because I would want to know
of course you would.
My details are out there on the dark web.
Correct, absolutely. And they get in there for all sorts of reasons. It's mainly down to data breaches. So like Twitter, for example, in the news just a few weeks ago, they had a data breach that compromised 200 million people's data, like 200 million records is what they would call it. I don't think their passwords were obtained, but that doesn't really matter, because the hackers have like algorithms, and they have solutions that will just run your personal data to a bit like social engineering, really. So they'll look at your pet's name, or your favorite band, and they'll just guess your password. Once they've guessed your password, they're into all sorts of accounts, aren't they?
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
It's a scary world to be in, and a lot of it comes down to being really lazy, me included, and not changing your password. So that's the simplest thing you can do, guys. Change your password at least once a month, like you would do in work, right? But we forget. And don't repeat your password. Like, stop doing that. I'm so guilty of this.
It's funny how this subject obviously has come up, but I mean, I'm absolutely 100% guilty of doing the same thing, and I have no problem in admitting. I think it was a few months ago, one of my accounts did get hacked, and I've been meaning to do it for ages, and I went and got one of those password managers.
Yes, yeah,
and I've just started.
And that's fine.
Yeah,
absolutely, that's fine. The best thing you can do is forget what your password is, because it just encourages you to go and change it again. But
absolutely,
it's scary.
No, absolutely. So I've just got a lot more a lot better at making sure that I've different random passwords now for every single website. So obviously a lot harder to anyway, we could probably talk about that for ages, but let's get on to the subject of partnerships. So that's what we're all about. So just with obviously working within your team, obviously you said you work for this, this cyber agent product. I can imagine. I said there's lots of things you're trying to do with obviously different businesses, and like you said, it's a B2B2C. So with I was talking about on the subject of partnerships. How have you sort of seen the approaches change sort of recently? Obviously, like with COVID and that kind of stuff. And then, for you, like in a perfect world, if you had, if it was like a gold star partnership for like Cyber Agent, what would that sort of look like?
Yeah. So we proactively look for businesses that complement our business, if that makes sense. What we like to do is challenge ourselves to operate in sectors where we may not be as strong. So we're quite keen on going into gaming and gambling at the moment. And that's a bit of a weird one, because do you really trust your gaming or gambling provider to provide you with this proactive fraud service? Like there's like a bit of a disconnect with it, but we do have people in that sector really interested in what we do. And maybe that would shape the way that consumers see that brand. So I almost said some brand names then, but I can't do that.
No.
Delete that bit.
We'll bleep them out if you did. It's not a problem.
So we look at the sectors, and we also look at, because our product is global, we look at whether we have a footprint in a particular global region. That comes with its own challenges, to be honest, because there's different levels of understanding of this product and identity theft as a whole across loads of different areas. So it's about understanding that as well. From a gold star perspective, I think it's really straightforward. I think it's about being mutually flexible, because they have to be as flexible as you are. You've got to be overly communicative, mega transparent. And what's really important, and actually we put this into our contracts for any potential clients out there, we have agreed measures of success in place from the very beginning. So we know exactly what we're mutually signing up to in order to make that product super successful. So we want that investment from our clients, and we need to understand their business. And they need to understand ours. So it's just a mutual appreciation society, I would say. It's true. It's also, and I think maybe in the past, in my partnerships sort of career, maybe I haven't done this as much, but knowing what problem the solution solves. So you have to understand why the partner needs your solution or why they want it. Is it just a case of they want to create an additional revenue stream? Well, that's totally fine with us because it's mutually beneficial. We want you to succeed. That means we succeed. So, and I think it's really important to have mutually defined expectations and common values in place. Like that's got to be from the beginning. But to me, that's what Gold Star partnership looks like for me.
No. I think that's pretty much, I'd say, nailed it on the head. Obviously, with obviously speaking to a few people, those are common things that do come up. Like I said, having that mutual sort of understanding, and like you said, it's about working together, being open from the very beginning. What you both want to get out of it, so you don't have any pitfalls further down the line. Because obviously we know life, everything is not always happy stories, and things don't always go according to plan. You can prevent some of that, by if you've got that clear at the beginning, you're not going to face that obviously further down the line. So
totally agree.
Just I was keeping on the theme of partnership. So you talked about there in terms of really, really clear, like in terms of what a Gold Star kind of looks like for your team. How are you going about sort of creating those at the moment? So, for example, obviously plugging ourselves, obviously we're also on Finder. We know that people can request a call to speak with you guys and talk about those products. But obviously maybe either before Finder or like outside of that, what other ways you're sort of going around, trying to sort of create those partnerships with other businesses?
So I think it might be controversial, but I actually think partnerships should be really easy. I agree. After we've gone from, like Jonathan, our sales director, he's the new business part of our team. So as long as he's done his job properly, thanks, Jonathan, and they land on my desk, well, then it should be super seamless. It should be a transparent collaboration between businesses, again, for mutual benefit. And I'll talk a little bit about networking a bit later on, but I think having like a super strong network, being open to lots of different platforms, technologies, ways of working, I think that's really key to onboarding new partners and getting in front of them. Like everyone's fed up of Teams meetings and not having that that one-on-one interaction. I think that's super important. And as I already said, we automatically look for businesses who share similar values to us. So really they need to be an extension of our brand. And we need to know that they're invested in collaborating so that it just makes it easier for them to push the product to their own consumers. Because obviously with a B2B2C, there is an extra layer of work that needs to be done. I always think it's good to evaluate what a potential partner brings to your business. Are they reaching a different audience?
Yeah.
Like I touched on earlier, do they operate in different sectors?
Mm-hmm.
And is there a potential industry that we want to move into? And how do we do that? Well, we obviously leverage that partnership relationship, and that's what it's really good for. One thing that I wish I'd have taught myself a long time ago.
You're going on to the next question. You're jumping ahead.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Carl.
No. That's why, again, just this naturally. So let's go straight into that. What was it that all leads into? What some tips you think you could have given yourself if you could have gone back and told your younger self?
So I think one of the hard lessons I think we all have in partnerships, because, we're all here for the sale and we want to make our relationships really successful. Mm-hmm. But one of the hardest things to do, I think, is to evaluate the partner, look at whether that partner fits with your brand, your revenue objectives. Are they going to prioritize the product to get it out there? You can walk away. And you absolutely can say no. It's okay to do that, because what that means then is that you're perhaps doing away with a mediocre partnership and then concentrating on a big fish, who are totally more aligned with what you want to do. So I think we've already touched on this, Carl, but fundamentally partnerships is about trust. Mm-hmm. My clients need to know that I can deliver on their growth objectives, and they need to know that I'm the expert. It is inverted commas, because dark web data is an ever-changing world, but that's what I need to instill in them. One of my most successful partnerships was actually at GBG, because I've already name dropped them, so I'm sure they'll be fine. And if the partner's watching, they'll absolutely know who they are. This involved being on site in their offices 3 days a week, every week. And I did that for 8 months. Wow. Now, this sounds like a lot of effort, because it was, but what I got to see was how the business worked from every perspective. Mm-hmm. So I was involved in training sales teams, attending joint meetings with potential clients. I saw the challenges that they were facing, and I was able to address them face to face and in real time. So the partnership was one of the most successful in the business, and they're still going strong today, I am pleased to say. Great bunch of people, honestly, great bunch of people. So that was huge, that one.
No, that sounds amazing. But just going back on a couple of the points, obviously you said again, obviously trust is a big thing, but I think you obviously hit the nail again there. So is okay, to say no, something's not going to work. Don't try to force it just because you think, I need to get this over the line, or get this partnership signed off, because probably either it's just going to cause you more headache further down the line, or
exactly
it's not gonna work out. So that's great. Just moving on to maybe a little bit more about your the team. I'm not sure if you've got direct reports yourself, or if you work in obviously a wider team. But what would you say? Do you have any sort of top tips we'd like to ask guests, around sort of like creating high performing teams, having a good solid culture, within a business, and sort of how they strive to get those, to have those things. Obviously, for any business or any team, doesn't matter how small or large, for it to really sort of truly work and sort of be successful, you need people that are engaged, wanting to follow you, and obviously work towards some sort of goal. Do you have any sort of tips either that on said on how to get sort of a high performing team, or having culture?
Our team is really small, because we basically act like a bit of a startup within Experian. So there are some really high points of that, but there are also some additional challenges. Absolutely. But what I love about our team is that we each hold each other to account. Like, none of us are scared of saying what we think.
I like that.
Which is, can be a bit stressful sometimes, but I'm a great believer in conflict and challenges, not conflict for the sake of it, but when you have conflict and when you have challenges, it actually brings about great change. And it's about not being fearful of that, like being a proper adult, which is scary. But it's about always being honest. It's about not trying to hard sell anything. If you've got a new product, don't ram it down everybody's throat. Have a little think about how that fits in with their customer journey and their existing product line. I also think it's essential that you have a sense of humor about everything within your team. Within your partnerships. Because I tell you what, sometimes that has got me out of trouble. So it just brings it down a little bit. Like if you're cracking a few jokes and you're laughing about something, even if it's something that you've done wrong, it just adds a little bit of light to sometimes very complex situations, especially if there's stuff that you can't deliver. But that's one of my sort of go-tos, if you like. And, the partner always knows, if they know you anyway, which all of mine do, they'll know that I'm being honest and transparent from the get-go, and adding a little bit of humour can diffuse certain situations. So,
I like that. I like that. I think it's just that's lending back towards again that just we're all human beings. Obviously, we're trying to you're trying to come to a but you do need sometimes a little bit of like whether it be sense of humour or just being a bit down to earth. It can make a big difference between a relationship with someone. So I can definitely attest to that. And then so just on the future, and I mean, obviously the whole dark web, like you said, it's forever changing, which is obviously not necessarily a good thing. But what sort of for the future, how do you see your team? Was there anything like specifically you think you'll be trying to do differently than you've done now or in the past in terms of, like I said, trying to create those partnerships? I know, is there any tools or software or certain things that you might be trying to use, which is going to help to sort of change, like maybe the process that for creating partnerships may be different to what you've done before?
And I think actually, Carl, in this role I've done a lot of that, Finder being a perfect example. There's some other platforms that I'm looking at the moment. I'll give a shout out to Preview Me, because what we're trying to do is think of different ways to communicate with our client base in a really effective way, giving them updates on the news in the dark web, about product launches, and we're actually going to be creating really short videos to send out, and we'll be able to track the analytics of that. So as an overview, channel partnerships in general is the way forward. So, you're essentially outsourcing multiple sales teams to work on your behalf to resell the product. It's a much more effective way of working. To keep that momentum going, I really think we have to invest more in attending and even hosting our own events, getting more of that one-on-one FaceTime, because we're all fed up of Teams and Zoom and everything in between. We really need that human interaction. It is humanizing, and it builds trust in a much better way than these, being on calls for hours on end. It's very different. And I alluded to it earlier. On a personal level, I will continue to leverage my own network, so adding to it, speaking to different people. It's so important, I think, to continually make connections online and offline, and be conscious of creating relationships with everyone you interact with, because you never know when an opportunity to work together will arise. Like it's happened to me so many times, and it's so key to have a really strong network. So that's where we're at. That's kind of that's where we're going.
That's brilliant. No, I totally agree. I think like most people, especially work from home or hybrid working, would agree that working with someone, talking to someone face to face, and is such a big difference. Obviously, we're not complaining, and we're not complaining. We love the technology. We all love technology.
We do.
We're not complaining, but it's you do lose a bit, something, especially with essentially networking partnerships. Being able to just have that face to face time can make a big difference. So yeah, no, totally agree. Just one penultimate last question, shall we say? There's also a little bit of fun. If you could partner with any sort of business, or if it could be a person, it doesn't have to be a business, maybe something personal to you, where you're like, I'd like to partner with this particular person. Do you have any ideas or when it would be, and why?
Oh my God, no.
Fair enough. It's
probably like thousands. I'm like, oh my God, Sam, you definitely should have said that. I think from a cyber agent perspective, it's a serious answer. I would really like to go into the new markets like gaming and gambling. I think we can actually make a big difference, not just in terms of, revenue streams, but I think it would be changing the shape and the way that people see those brands, especially ones that have been fined numerous times for being very naughty. But adding a product like this, I think would actually build a bit of trust back. So, I don't have a personal answer, probably anyway, but
listen, the real reason we do is obviously to us, it's organic, so if there's not something coming up, that's absolutely fine. I think what you just said there makes sense. Going into those particular markets, obviously, I mean, again, I'm not obviously an expert in those fields, but it would, from what you've described and what you're doing, it makes sense. There'd be synergies there between obviously what you're trying to do, and obviously just for everyone, I mean, that awareness of obviously just what's out there, because I think obviously probably a lot of the time we just we can't ever just pretend it doesn't exist because we don't want to deal with it, which is that's
what happens. You'd be surprised. You'd be very surprised, and the UK is sort of, I would say 30-40% switched on to dark web data and ID theft. Like, people don't tend to make the connection between the two, but it's absolutely related. That is what's happening. So it's about educating people more on the devastation that this can actually have on your life, because 100%. It potentially is devastating. No,
100%. Listen, it's been absolutely great talking to you. Just only like one sort of last thing. So we just like to bring the obviously podcast to a close. Really just sort of like appreciate, just give it like short summary. I mean, what you kind of partnerships mean to sort of you and your team. Obviously we've talked about lots, so I've got an idea, but just a small summary of like why for you what partnerships mean to you and your team.
Well, they're everything to us. That's who we are. That's what we do. We really want to focus on our reach. We want to reach as many global partners as possible, because as I said, we operate globally. It would be really great to have as many clients on board as possible. So if for no other reason than to share the message of dark web data and how you can prevent all of this nonsense that happens to you. So our team is very passionate about this product and what it can deliver. And we're passionate about, doing as much as we can to provide a little bit of extra protection for, when we're online. So,
No, that's brilliant. Okay. Yeah, no, absolutely brilliant. Listen, I want to really thank you for coming on, being a guest on our podcast. And we really appreciate you coming and taking time to speak to us. And like I said, good luck with the team and obviously the global outreach. Obviously, we're going to be here to support you all the way.
You are. You are.
Like I said, thank you. Thank you very much for coming and talk to us.
You're welcome, Carl. Thanks for having me.
All right. Cheers. Thank you.
Thanks for joining this week's Game Set Matchup. Tune in to hear more about the need to knows and the do's and don'ts when it comes to creating successful business partnerships.